and Highway Patrol.
All right, here now on the Imus the Morning program, my fat friend, Rush Limbaugh. Good morning, Rush.
My friends, Mondo Diddles to you all. It is I, the undisputed king of conservatives, supreme ruler of the reactionary right, Rush Limbaugh. Talent on a closed-end lease from God with a big balloon payment due.
What now?
Well, as a member of my Mossback minions, you are entitled to certain perks. And so I am going to reveal to you one of the biggest, most well-kept secrets in the country.
Wow.
That's right. Here with almost 7 full months to go, I already know the Time Magazine Man of the Year for 1994. It's Mr. Happy, the one-eyed trouser weasel, the penis.
Right.
Think about it. Has anyone or anything gotten more coverage of late than the male fleshy member? The palpitating pink pudendum has been popping up all over. John Bobbitt, Michael Jackson, Mr. Clinton, never has one single appendage enjoyed such exposure. It has become the recurring theme in current events. And the predominant Peter in the news is Slick Willie's Slick Willie. He's reared his ugly head once again in a hotel room in Little Rock. Well, and if you ask me, he is the root of all Bubba's problem.
Fine.
Once again, Bill has found himself in a peccadillo. And now we have a repeat showing of He Said, She Said. Except in this version, you don't see the feminazi housefrau, the gnome-like Patricia Ireland, running to the defense of Paula Corbin-Jones. If only the walls could speak. Actually, if only the balls could speak. Because the only ones who know the truth, the only ones who know the real story, were the only ones in the room. Bubba, Ms. Jones, and the aforementioned Captain Howdy. So it occurs to me that we have a star witness here. We've heard so much about the little head doing the thinking for the big head. Why not let it do the talking too? He's been given anthropomorphic qualities by the media. Let him have a voice. Now I'm not suggesting a bizarre ventriloquist act, some senior Wentz's dipstick lipstick on the old beef puppet. I mean, actually get the little fella up there and have him testify.
Right.
Defense calls a Mr. Wiener to the stand. Sir, would you place your hand on the... Sorry. Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mr. Wiener, where were you on the night in question? Well, I was with Bill, just hanging out. Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is battering the witness. Your Honor, I am not battering the witness. My client is the one battering the witness. Request a 5-minute recess until he's finished.
A number of annoying dorks have called me to tell me they think this song by Rush is in poor taste. But ask yourself this. Isn't Imus just holding a mirror up to poor taste?
Here's Rush. She goes to state dinners with her lesbian friends. Makes big investments with high dividends. Forgets to pay taxes, but then makes amends. That's why the First Lady is a tramp. She won't do housework, 'cause it makes her sick. Doesn't make cookies like the rest of the chicks. The ace in her hole is a willy that's slick. That's why the First Lady is a tramp. She likes the way Christoph does her hair. National health care. She's rich. A bitch. Executive privilege is what makes her deaf. That's why the First Lady is a tramp. She always takes top when she fornicates. Gets really cranky when she menstruates. Prefers to stand up when she urinates. That's 'cause the First Lady is a tramp. She's sophisticated and so very well read. Doesn't care for the ballet. Likes pro wrestling instead. She made Vince Foster shoot himself in the head. That's why the First Lady is a tramp. She likes the way
Benedict Christophe does her hair. National health care. She's rich. Oh, what a bitch. Executive privilege is what makes her damn. That's why the First Lady. That is why the First Lady. That's why Miss Hillary is a tramp. Rush Limbaugh. A little Frank Sinatra thing here on the I'm 20 program. Yeah. One of the few things that we've...
Party's over. They say that all good things must end. Let's call it a night. The party's over, and tomorrow starts the same old thing again. Imus in the morning.
WFAN Highway Patrol.
Right, here now with a comment and observation on headline issues of the day. Imus in Washington's new senior political analyst, the senior senator from the state of South Carolina, the Honorable Strom Thurmond.
Thank you, Imus. Mighty white of you to have me in here today. Well, let's see now. There's some pretty intriguing things unfolding here regarding our president, as you know. And so what I'd like to do today, with unanimous consent, is make this matter my issue 1, I believe it is, Paula Corbin Jones, or assuming a position before you got the job. Now, I reviewed this matter pretty closely, Imus, and here's what I think. It is my view that Mr. Clinton was simply trying to advance his health care concerns back in that hotel room by giving this young lady an object lesson in male anatomy. See, showing Ms. Jones what the healthy male genitalia looks like in order to protect this poor child from getting exposed to some kind of jungle rot in some future relationship. So rather than condemn the president, I applaud the boy for his effort to educate an unsophisticated, fine young thing. If you're listening, Mr. President, Strom Thurmond is on your side. Hillary might not be, but I am. Look, Amos, politicians like me and the president struggle for years to get the kind of power we have. What the hell's the point if you can't abuse it once in a while? Okay? Now, I've seen a few that make my knees knock myself. Like them Gore daughters.
That'll be fine.
I wouldn't mind talking over a little government service with those girls, let me tell you.
Senator.
Anyway, issue 2, Bill discovers Bosnia. Or, you're right, Mr. President, the world isn't flat. Yes, Amos, they finally got the president to pay attention to a couple of foreign policy issues. David Gergen started putting beaver shot phone outs in his State Department briefing. We hadn't missed 1 or 2 weeks. Enjoy it, son. Say, speaking of foreign exploits, I see you ventured out of the country, Amos, for a very historical event.
Pardon me?
Well, I caught you on that South African talk show a few nights ago with that Inkatha Freedom Party fella, Mr. Boudelese.
No.
Now, he ran third behind Mandela and de Klerk. Is that right?
No, that wasn't Boudelese. That was Al Roker.
Oh, that wasn't a Zulu chief?
No, he's a weatherman.
Oh, well, then my mistake. Bald head fool. Darn if they don't all look alike. Anyway, Amos, issue 3 before my time is up. And wouldn't you just figure this? These gay games next month up there in New York City, 10,600 of them coming from all over the place, and they're going to let them hold their big closing ceremony in Yankee Stadium. Well, that's a damn Yankee attitude if I ever heard one, sir. Well, all I can say is, don't shake hands with anybody who's been in a relay race, Amos, because there's no damn telling where them boys will have been carrying the baton, if you see what I'm saying. Actually, they ought to hold this deal over there in Singapore, in my opinion, where bare-butt caning would be just another damn sport. Well, that's it. I'm invoking cloture on myself, Amos. But save your Confederate money and raise the stars and bars, boy, because the South, like my shorts, will rise again.
Senator Strom Thurmond, here on the Imus in the Morning program, one of the foremost journalists in the country, Judy Woodruff, in about 4 minutes.
I know you want to leave me, but I refuse to let you go. If I have to beg, plead for your sympathy, I don't mind, 'cause you mean that much to me. Imus in the morning.
Actually, Indiana came in here and stole one of those first 3 games.
The one problem is, I think, from the Indiana perspective of that is, not just will pull out their record and what they've done in the playoffs. Indiana is no secret to anybody right now.
Plus, the Knicks had trouble with them last year. Maybe that helps, too. Coming back after Kiddo, go on.
Like in the Mad Dog, Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
So I got a call yesterday from Lyndon Abel. Lyndon used to be my producer back in
79, yeah, 80, 81. Biggest drug addict on the planet. Had a 7-foot marijuana plant in his apartment. And then he was a part-time drug dealer too, of course. And that's why I should get my drugs from Lyndon. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about all this stuff.
I know. No, I'm sure he's happy.
Imus, this ain't your mother's morning show. So Lyndon went on to become a program director himself at radio stations around. He's in Washington, and he called me yesterday and wanted to know if he could come over to the station tomorrow. And I reluctantly said yes. But it would be like if, 5 years from now, Bernard calls me. Says,
Well, I'd have to be on drugs to go you 5 years from now.
In the morning on the fan, Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
WFAN 2020 Sports. Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock. I'm Paul Olden.
Mike's play-by-play show, 9:30 to midnight. Looking forward to that.
Dog will be up there. Say, introduce me to this person.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN. Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
New York Mets baseball.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
6:05, and what do you say? Howie Rose with you on the fan, straight through. Of course, with the Mets and the Montreal Expos in between, right up until midnight. So we'll take the next hour to yak about a number of different items, including, of course, an opportunity to talk to you on the phones at 718-937-6666. Get Mets Extra started a little after 7 o'clock as the Mets look to make it 6 out of 7 on this road trip, which winds up tonight in Montreal with Mets Extra, as the Mets look to make it a 3-game sweep over the Expos in Montreal. On deck with Newsday is straight ahead, followed by a Mets flashback, and then Mets Extra coming up right here on the Fan.
The president and his wife, and they've picked a fight with these 2 actors in a health insurance commercial. and in the midst of all of this, they've decided to challenge Ross Perot to a debate over NAFTA. And the vice president is a nice enough guy. He's bright. He obviously can spell potato. It's stamped right there in his forehead. If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning. Here with us from ABC News is Jeff Greenfield. Good morning, Jeff.
I have something on you that you will never live down. I got leaked from a friend the internals of the Yankelovich poll taken on you.
Yes.
When I read the approval-disapproval ratings, I swear to God, I thought they were measuring John Demjanjuk and a Benet Brisby. I have never seen numbers like this in my life.
Jeff.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
Let me talk to you for empty suit. Hatload, general manager at the team in Washington, Bennett Zier, who's on the hotline for some reason. What do you want?
Well, I just want to say, obviously, none of these other stations are getting it right, so we're offering a seminar down here in Washington for all your affiliates on how to do the show right.
You managed to get 2 segues right, by the way. We're going to continue checking you.
Oh, by the way, great sources you got down here. Jesus, what are they sitting in Watergate?
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning. Now we have Rick from Providence. What do you want?
Good morning, Mr. Imus.
Why can't we tape you? What's the problem?
We just recently moved.
Well, what is it? Is this like a mobile radio station you have there in the back of a truck? You just drive around Providence?
Is it like a base unit?
Yeah.
Like the old guns in Iraq? A couple of weeks after putting on your show, we had to get on a car and move.
Yellow.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
All right. Got a great idea for you. Morning show.
Baseball.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
And a good morning, everybody. Russ Solberg here on this 12th day of May, 1994. The number, as always, is and all I can say is fasten your seatbelts, folks, because for hockey fans, you better make that for sports fans, especially in the local area. It gets no better than this. A Rangers-Devils best-of-7 showdown. This is a good hockey team with outstanding goaltending. I think they have the capability of getting the job done. It will be tough, but they can do it. Stick around. More to come after this.
Hey, dog. Yeah, Mikey? What are you going to do? Get yourself a new ride this Saturday at the Plaza Auto Mall?
The flagship station for New York Rangers hockey.
Alrighty, Russ Solberg back here on the fan. 11:06 is the time as we head into hour number 2. Talk this morning, lots of talk. Really, what's been dominating has been Rangers Devils, but right now we're going to talk some Knicks. The Devils get through the Rangers. They got 4 more wins after that to sip champagne from the old cup. And the Rangers have been waiting a lot longer than the Devils to do so. Russ Solberg here on the fan. Stick around. DeLisi coming up with the update right after this.
Hey, dog.
2020 Sports on WFAN, the flagship station for New York Rangers hockey.
And hello again, Russ Solberg back with you here on the fan. 12:04 is the time as we are in our number 3. Talk of the day, Rangers Devils. More so than the Knicks and Bulls. I really thought it would be even Steven, but really the majority of calls, discussions all about Devils and the Rangers. But like I tell you, even talking, I was.
Quality, dependability, and energy efficiency. So don't wait. Buy your Frederick air conditioner now. Get up to $100 back from Frederick during our once-a-year free season sale.
Call change, Frederick Air Conditioners. Call change, Frederick Air Conditioners.
See your authorized Frederick dealer today. He's in the yellow pages.
So, what I'm going to do, and telling all hockey fans to do, and sports fans in general, just sit back and enjoy it. Devils Rangers for the Eastern Conference Final, right to go on and possibly sip champagne from Lord Stanley's Cup. Speaking of Stanley, thanks today to the Maven, Stan Fischler, Ian O'Connor of the Daily News, our own Susan Waldman, Kazari Robin, and as always, you the fans. Until tomorrow, bye-bye, so long, farewell.
Hey, dog.
I'm Vince DeLisi with 2020 Sports on WFAN, the flagship station for New York Knicks basketball.
Sports Radio 66 WFAN. They're looking forward to going at it as hard as they can. Watching the mad dog on the fan. Nothing taken for you, turn it on and try it. Watching the mad dog, WFAN.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? Mikey the Man Dog on the fans. Well, Hey, Thursday in New York, 1994, 718-937. 6666 2A Sports Talk telephone number with Eddie Scazzeri and Robert W. Gallup across the way as we talked about the world of sports last cooking today with hockey, the NBA, and all the baseball. Yankees a day game today against the Indians. We'll keep you up to date with that. And good afternoon, Mike. How are you?
Fine, dog. How's everything?
Hanging in there. And obviously, another very...
They lost because they couldn't throw the ball in the ocean in the fourth quarter. They lost because the guy who was supposed to be that big-time player does not step up in the fourth quarter of either game, and that's Pippen.
2 good hours to do some hockey on the other side of 3, so don't go away.
Watching the mad
second hour. Obviously, continue on the Knicks and Bulls.
Oh, yeah, obviously the Knicks and Bulls. We have Indiana, Atlanta. We have to go out west and take a look at the series that's going on out there with Phoenix and Houston.
Denver, Utah, that's another series.
That was a
Nuggets,
surprise.
shocker.
Nuggets.
Oh, that was just
Seattle,
shocking
wow.
in the first round. I give Dan Issel a lot of credit. He's done a good job. We're coming back.
Matumbo has done a great
That's our
job.
guy. We're coming back.
WFAN 2020 Sports.
Good evening. It's about it. Yeah. Work out on the machines that you need to work on. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do that. We're out of here.
Next on a current affair.
50, the current Central Park temperature 55 degrees under mostly cloudy skies, and that's what's happening. This is Bob Usler with 2020 Sports on WFAN, the flagship station for New York Mets baseball.
Good evening, Bill Daughtry with you at 718-937-6666, rolling on till Steve Summers showtime at 12 midnight. Got a hockey game going on tonight. Got a basketball game going on tonight. Got baseball to talk about. Lots of basketball and hockey to talk about. And we'll do all of that and some more with you at 718-937-6666 on your fan. As Steve Summers would say, yeah, no, y'all said it. You know, I'm
Imus in the morning news time. 5.
Everybody in America, turn your radio on. Now really, ask yourself, how offensive really is this?
Yeah, Champ is in the house. Champ is in a big house. Here with MC Tiny. Dropped a 411 on the chief executive. Well, if you ask me, you seem to get into trouble with all the whole bitches in your life make your ass dig double. Take it from me, since Adam and Eve in the beginning, the problem ain't with the man, it's with them crazy women. Love them, deceive them, and then up and leave them. Then they talk to the media, and the media believe them. Leaving, you're wondering what's up and what's what? Telling Paul and Joe she make your knees knock. But all she wants is to get sloppy with your poppy and turn around and sell a story to current affair and hard copy. Sneaking with Sally through the alley, maybe invigorate. But in time you will find you better off masturbate. Think about how you almost lost all your executive powers for sniffing around like a hound in the bed of flowers. But I'm your homie, and if you ask me so, take it from me, President C, you gotta pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. If she try to talk sweet, pimp slap the hoe. If she can't be discreet, pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. She handing you a line, pimp slap the hoe. Call you Losario, pimp slap the hoe. Can't do a Marcel Marceau, pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. Way back in Arkansas, so goes the story. You were doing things that were considered very obligatory. Stay true with bringing hoochies in and out the back door. And when you were through with them, you sent them out for a couple of more. Paul and Joe be staying in a hotel back in Little Rock. You pull down your pants and then you show to your little fat lot. She may feel like Anita Hill, hearing in the Senate. If you ain't running scared, then why did you go hire Robin Bennett? What are you gonna say when Miss Hillary asks you if you did it? Don't believe her, baby. I never stuck my little bubba in it. If you're knocking boots with the hottie who's only looking for some dough, get the Secret Service to pimp slap that hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. If she says she's gonna sue, pimp slap the hoe. Ask you what you gonna do, pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. If she trying to act cute, pimp slap the hoe. Don't wanna stay mute, pimp slap the hoe. Bring about a lawsuit, pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. Next time you find yourself with the pocket rocket, try a pocket Vito G and put your eyes back in the socket. Heavy as the head that be wearing the crown. Got to be discreet, we're looking to stick before you hang down. But if you keep stepping on your Johnson man, I told you so. Woman's gonna be trouble, pimp slap that hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. If she gonna tell your wife, pimp slap the hoe. Make you miserable for life, pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. She handing you a line, pimp slap the hoe. Call you Losario, pimp slap the hoe. Can't do a Marcel Marceau, pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe. Pimp slap the hoe.
Charming.
Imus, this ain't your mother's morning show.
I'm a sinner.
9X Mobile Fan Highway Patrol.
I'm Imus Good Morning, and we are live here at WTEM in Washington. Making our first public comments on Whitewater in Newsweek and Time. The First Lady admitting making mistakes in the handling of Whitewater. All right, then isn't that enough? Case closed in my mind. Isn't it closed in your mind? Well, of course it's not closed in my mind. She's got to submit herself to a full congressional investigation. I want to see her later, one of those things.
Mrs. Clinton, would you like to take a break?
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
This hearing will be the dirt.
That's what you want. You have to lead her off, like a James Brown. With a clump over, 10 minutes till 7 o'clock here at
Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
every generation or so. Once again,
Live from Washington, D.C., it's Imus. Shut up, you fat hell. Get out of here. Imus in the Morning News Time, 5 minutes after the hour here in Washington, D.C. Purgation of American Media by the elder statesman of broadcast on CNBC every Monday night. Now, this Jeffrey Dahmer story, is this real?
yes, it is.
He's turned his life over to Jesus. And so he's going to give up eating humans on Friday?
Imus, this ain't your mother's morning show.
What's with the limo? What's the matter with it? Why do you have Arkansas plates? I mean, it's left over from Little Rock High School proms. I'm telling you. Footprints on the window. What is that about?
AstroTurf in the back seat.
Imus in the morning. Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
Is that they have not lost many close games in the playoffs, and maybe that was their chance. Maybe the Leafs take a big sigh of relief that they get to a Game 7,
I think Toronto won the series last night on a Gardner overtime goal. I think they're on their way to Vancouver Monday night.
Fair point. Coming back. Don't go away.
Mike and the Mad Dog. Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
Playoffs are going to end up. I think the Devils are going to win.
He thinks the Devils are going to win.
That's okay. He's allowed to maybe they are.
40-58.
That's a pretty good chunk. Greg Anthony coming up on the other side of 5, an interview we did earlier in the day.
Mike and the Mad Dog. Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
They were all sold out. Well, you can Chicago.
They sure are. Boy, you're going to have a busy day today. Mick, we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks.
John Miko, our man in Chicago. Game 4, of course, is tomorrow, 5:30. And we will have it here for you on the Fan, starting with a pregame show right after Mets baseball as Mets take on the Braves today and tomorrow afternoons. Ed Coleman on the Mets, Susan Waldman on the Yanks, and more Nick talk coming up. Stay tuned.
Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
Basketball.
Sports Radio 66
Back on the Fan, Sports Radio 66 WFAN. Richard Neer, and joining us now is Mr. Ed Coleman, who, of course, covers the Mets for the Fan. And not too many eyes were on Shea Stadium last night, I would imagine, with the Knickerbocker game. Ed Coleman was keeping a close eye on them. Eddie, how you doing? It's like, your mother. I mean, what are you going to say to somebody in that kind of situation that's going to get them over the edge like that? Thanks to Mike Hayes and Steve Cohn. I'll be back again next Saturday at 6 o'clock. Stay tuned for The Dog. It should be a classic.
Sports Radio 66 WFAN.
And that's what's happening. I'm Vince DeLacy with 2020 Sports on WFAN, the flagship station for New York Mets baseball.
Sports Radio 66
Good morning, everybody. How are you tonight? Christopher Slaughter on a Saturday morning here in New York. Good night, board. 718-937-6666. 14th day of May, 1994. Now, boy, oh boy, boy, this should be a lot of fun. In 2-1, Stevie Cohen and Mike Hayes. The crossways we talked to you about the world of sports. You got the Mets, you have the Yankees who are Derek Coleman in the first series, he pushed BJ down in game 1, and he gave him a hard foul in game 2, and was totally out of line last night. I don't care if JoJo English spit in his eye. Like, walk away. Walk away. That is disgusting play by Harper. And I don't want to hear a word about taunting. Sure, JoJo English pushed him first. But Harper's the guy who threw the first punch, went after him after that, and threw him on the ground. Harper is totally out of line. And the Knicks, to sit there and blame it on taunting is an absolute disgrace. I mean, come on, and then you're on, and then Jenkins is on postgame, and all the quotes today, and blaming the Chicago security people for getting on Starks. That's a bunch of crap, too. You know, Starks should have been nowhere near the dawn scene. I mean, Starks was the first guy in, for God's sakes. Yelling and screaming at the fans, cussing everybody out. Goodness gracious, how about blaming Starks for rushing in there? And for the Knicks to blame anybody about taunting is out of line. Because they taunt more than anybody. And it's a terrible play by Harper. Terrible. He gets kicked out now for game 4. Who knows what, Thorne might go crazy because Stern was sitting right there. Thorne might throw him out a couple of more games. You can't do that. And I'm tired of the Knicks always blaming something else for the incident. All the security guys did a bad job. JoJo English threw an elbow. JoJo English taunted. I'm sick of it. The Knicks do not get benefits of the doubt when it comes to fights. All there is to it. This is not a benefit of the doubt squad. And for Harper, who should know better. Do you expect Corey Gaines to play great tomorrow like he did last night? I don't. And not only that, Harper's been shippy throughout the whole playoffs. Shippy. And don't anybody tell you anything different either. He pushed Armstrong down game 1. Same thing in game 2. It's a bad job by Harper. And I get very tired of the Knicks blaming everybody but themselves. Somebody should say, you know what? That's a disgraceful job by Harper. To let a Sclavino get him kicked out is ridiculous. And Harper threw the first punch. English shoved, he shoved, Harper punched. Harper threw him on the ground. And if Jenkins and Glenfeld have such a big problem with security, tell Starks to stay on the bench. I mean, let's call it like we see it. No, I did not have a fight at home before I came to work.
Could I turn my headsets up yet? Thank you.
10:20, The Flash, sponsored by the Discover Card. Here's Vince Felice.
WFAN 2020 Sports.
I think we'll just calm things down a little bit here now, Christopher. The Bulls beat the Knicks 104-102 on a 19-footer by Tony Cruz for the Rolling Stones. Tickets USA, your personal box office connection.
Here tonight. You got to come back to fight. I don't care about MVP, most complete. I don't want him on my ball club ever. Give me Barkley. Give me Karl Malone. You think Karl Malone? I hate Malone's game. But you think Karl Malone's taking himself out 1.8 because the play is for John Stockton? No, I don't think so. I mean, Pippen's got a lot of Sean Kemp in him. Grow up. give Pippen credit for is he seemed to snap out of it pretty quickly. You heard MSG last night again. They did a great job with their opponent.
On the weekend, get your sports all the time. On the Fan, Sports Radio 66, WFAN New York.
Braves, and the Yankees and the Brewers will do that in the course today, and of course the two NBA games this afternoon, and the Rangers doubles. We're just getting started on a Saturday. Come on back.
This is the 50,000-watt clear channel voice of the Mets, Jets, Rangers, and St. John. The Fan, Sports Radio 66, WFAN New York. WFAN 2020 Sports.
Good morning. It's 11 o'clock. I'm Vince Scalise. Now, and that's what's happening. I'm Vince Scalise with 2020 Sports on WFAN, the flagship station for New York Rangers hockey. Back on the Fan Proud Cuba radio program on a Saturday morning. Nice to have you aboard. 718-937-6666. Your two-way sports talk telephone numbers. We talk to you about the world of sports. Obviously, on our Dicks, we do Bernie Nichols sometime today until 1 o'clock. So we have a lot to do. We're just getting warmed up on a nice Saturday in the Big Apple in early May. All right, a couple of quickies before we get back to your calls. We'll give you a chance here in a sec. Let me just do a quick little addendum. Out to be a jerk reaction. The Knicks need Derek Carter a lot more than the Bulls need JoJo English. Any way you slice it, that's a fact. And now Derek Carter will miss 2 games of this series. And it may cost them. My gut feeling is that they'll be able to battle through it, though. Our thanks to Lisa Johnson and Lula Shepard. This is Ryan Eagle. Enjoy the Orioles and the Twins on the Fan. Some game.
Don't forget Rangers doubles get underway tonight, too. Ed Coleman here, Bagels and Baseball. We're back. First baseman, he's trying to learn left field, and it's a tough center field at times. Will not tell us that you got to make those plays. You know, it's an ordinary fly ball, but keep in mind this puts a first baseman adjusting to left field. He didn't adjust too well yesterday. Vince Scalise up at 11 o'clock. Ed Coleman here with you. Norm Van Leer will join us on the other side. Your calls, too, here on the Fan.
Sports Radio.
Norm Van Leer before, and back in the days when they had respect, a little more discipline. It's too bad it's not there now. You find out after today, or you know your next game?
No, we're in New York. We have the series Wednesday, Friday.
Wednesday, Friday?
Definitely game 5, and if it goes 6, we're back in Chicago on Friday.
All right, you got it. We'll look for you.
All right, Eddie, as always, a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You'll be proud of TNT, what he said at the end there. Pay attention, folks. Meantime.
Sports on WFAN, the flagship station of New York Knicks basketball.
This is the 50,000-watt clear channel voice of the Mets, Jets, Rangers, and St. John. The Fan, Sports Radio 66, WFAN New York.
Good afternoon, this is John Minko. Today from the Chicago Stadium, the Knicks take on the Chicago Bulls. The Knicks Today pregame show is sponsored by
Stars and bars for what because the South, like my shorts, will rise again.
And the president gives Barbra Streisand's concert performance a thumbs-up review, man.
How can you like Elvis and Barbra Streisand? Huh?
How do you resolve that?
Makes no sense. He should be king.
Maybe he's hosing her.
Well, you know, that's not.
There you go.
That's what Mr. Shapiro's talking about. Can't you say uplifting things about the president?
I can't think of any.
Imus, this ain't your mother's morning show.
First Lady says the stress of her public life has taxed every fiber of her being. That's her quote.
Well, She's like Mary Jo Butterfield, except she doesn't have a bullet in her.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
Hello, I'm Richard.
MSS and MSS. The Tonight Show is here in New York for the first time in 20 years. And to celebrate the occasion, I'll be using some of the same material from that last New York broadcast. Hey, Nixon says he's not a crook. He used the definition of the word as one who makes a living by dishonest methods. I guess he really isn't a crook. He's just a member of Congress. Well, I killed 20 years ago. Hey, have you heard the latest about this kid Michael Fay who got caged in Singapore? No. Have you seen this and read about this? Apparently, some promoter has said he thinks he can sell tickets to see this kid's butt for like $500,000, which is slightly more expensive than tickets to go and see Troy dance, but at least you don't have to sit through Michael Fay singing the way we were. Well. By the way, after I tape the Tonight Show, I'll be going over to Kearny, New Jersey to do 15 shows at JT Funny Bones, and then tomorrow afternoon it's the Marchful Matinee at Minnie Haha's Native American Comedy Club. There's a 5 wampum cover, 2 firewater minimum.
Well, but everything was okay after. Yeah, by the elder statesman of broadcast journalists, Walter Cronkite. And so the circle is complete. Our here, one of the very fine sports writers in this country, and who writes for the Boston Globe, and he provides football commentary and analysis and inside stuff on NBC television. Will McDonough. Good morning, Mr. McDonough.
Good morning, Imus. You didn't drop enough big names there in 30 seconds.
Oh, shut up. Leave me alone. One of the good things about Kansas City going all the way is that we get to see Joe Montana's wife more. So, man,
well, she's about your range. She's about 29 or 30. Right?
You know, I just absolutely hate you.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
When you get to our age, you lose your hearing. So if you're with a woman who's the same age, you go to a show or watch TV, you don't know what anybody's saying. You sound like Abbott and Costello. At least you got the one with 30 years old. You can ask her, hey, what they just say? And she gives you the answer.
Coming up on 7:45 in the yard.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
That's the song. One non-alcoholic brew.
But he won himself.
And BJ had a bad year.
He was made the All-Star team. He played well the first half.
Oh, he had a terrible second half. I mean,
we didn't see him play.
If everyone wants to take away everything he did during the regular season for 2 seconds, go ahead. All I'm saying is, if they were going to take him out and execute him at dawn, they better hurry up before the Knicks lose the series.
Mike and the Mad Dog, Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
New York.
You saw that. You can make it. You can't read his mind.
And he smacked him with the ball.
Well, you can make a good case that he did that on purpose.
I don't think there's any question.
Mike and the Mad Dog, Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
Good morning, Mr. Marshall.
Yeah. So, Marshall, morning. This is Future.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just looking through the other CEO. You help there as a painter. So I just called to find out.
You read our ad advertising for a painter?
Yeah.
Well, we want people to paint plaster casts of penises. So we primarily would be using paint.
Oh, I thought it was also...
No house, just penis.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much so much.
Oh, wait a minute. I was trying to paint penis.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning on the Fan.
And you actually did not reach the number where you want.
Yeah.
You reached a radio program. Have you ever heard of Imus in the morning?
Yeah, I did this one, yeah.
Obnoxious jerk on the radio?
Yeah.
Well, that's me.
Oh.
So you don't have to paint anybody's penis.
I got it.
I mean, you can paint your own penis.
Yeah.
I don't want you to paint my penis.
In the morning on the Fan, Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN New York. WFAN 2020 Sports.
It's 5 o'clock. This is Iron Eagle.
For Imus in Washington, Richard Nixon.
Yes, very good to be here. Thank you so much. Imus in the morning. Oh, gosh, but how I've missed that. So, how's by you, Donna? All's well that doesn't smell, I suppose. Well, how are you? Well, I'm not at liberty to reveal that information. As you pointed out on several occasions, there were times, as you put it somewhat delicately, that I wasn't in that box. Now, I could be dead. I could simply be on some highly sensitive mission for the Department of State. I could be in the order of my Bob's Big Boy in Biloxi. that, I can't comment. Let me just close the subject enigmatically by saying Elvis is dead. Some say. Now then to the headline issues of the day. Matters that compel my return to your program. Especially since my new circumstances leave me free of all restraints, limitations, and normal bounds of decency. So let me begin by saying, and I mean this with every fiber of my being, this comes right from the heart, my man. Now then, anticipating your question, J.D., just what was it that I found so compelling that it forced me to return to your very fine program? Was it this Haitian thing? Or North Korea, Bosnia, Rwanda, all that? Or the fact that this utter boob holding my White House at stranglehold, Barbara Clinton, doesn't have a fart's chance in a wind tunnel of figuring out what to do? The short dick answer? No. Rather, issue one, though, is that even from beyond the pales, the bastards won't leave me alone. They are still kicking around Dick Nixon. Did you see what they found? The Haldeman Diary. I for sure thought I burned that damn thing, but no. And that prissy, holier-than-thou Nightline decides it would be cute to broadcast excerpts. It's not like consigning my legacy to history wasn't difficult enough already. Oh, no. Now Koppel has to get his licks in. Thinking I can only surmise that I am no longer able to respond, Nightline reveals through the Haldeman Diary that I once railed against blacks, that Billy Graham lectured me about Jews, and that John Ehrlichman covertly investigated Teddy Kennedy. Well, surprise, I am able to respond through my continued affiliation with your very fine program, J.D. So let me reply, if I may, point by point. Haldeman wrote that I once said, in discussing welfare reform, that the whole problem is the blacks. Okay, let me be perfectly clear in this regard. Of course, the problem is the blacks. Who the hell else is on welfare? Other than about a half a zillion your Caribbean basin boys. Next thing, Dr. Graham's observation that certain, not all, certain Jews constitute a problem. Here's my view, and see what you think about this, honestly. Did you ever find yourself vying for the same parking space with some old Jewish broad? And that's not a problem? Who do you think is going to win that little confrontation, huh? Well, it was easier to get out of Somalia than to get in that parking space, okay? And finally, let's think about Ehrlichman running a secret probe of Senator Kennedy in the aftermath of Chappaquiddick back there in '69. Let's be rational, J.D. What should we have done? Run an open investigation of it? Get the hell out of here. It was Teddy. Hell, I had a separate enemies list just for him. Just numbered a paper from 1 to 1,000 and then wrote his name in every space. Believe me, if somebody could have gotten him back at the water, I would have thrown animals at him. Now his kid Patrick is running for Congress, starting his political career. Another Kennedy? Do these people do anything other than breed? Jesus. What do you suppose he's running? The Willie Smith, Uncle Teddy, Blue Dot, bar hopping tickets? Harsh, I know, but I no longer care. And so as I leave you, let me share this. What really was in the box, J.D., was something you're very familiar with yourself. Quite simply, a dead dick. And that's one who is still available. We've just demonstrated here with the occasional kicking around. Oh, yes, sir. Would you like fries with that, sir?
Nixon returns to the Imus in the Morning program. It's 36 minutes past the hour here in New York. Apple unveiled this new... Today, the Navy begins integrating women into its combat fleet. 500 women are going to the carrier Eisenhower. See what Hack has to say? Yo, babes, on ships, dog. I like fellas. Anchors away.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the Morning.
But I wanted me to ask you, Colonel Hackworth, if you ever did drugs in Vietnam, if you ever went to a brothel, and if you ever had a homosexual experience in a foxhole.
Well, could we say all of the above?
Flashback. All right, here now, Media Watch. Careening across the pockmarked landscape of American journalism with veteran broadcast reporter Walter Cronkite.
Despite protestations from nearly every corner, the proliferation of New York City's Imus in the Morning program goes on, now defiling the airwaves of no fewer than 15 cities, from the Hudson River to the Continental Divide. And we're beginning to see some patterns developing. One example, not merely the consensus, but the absolute uniformity of critical reaction to the Imus program in each market following the show's debut. In a phrase, it sucks. It sucked in Providence, the critics said. It sucked in Washington. Sucked in Scranton. Bit the big one in Boston, and on and on.
got crossed somewhere around Kansas City. Yeah. It is at best a startling lack of creativity. The latest to clamber aboard the Imus Sucks bandwagon is a fellow with the improbable name Dusty Saunders, who writes a radio TV column for the Rocky Mountain News, found daily beneath the windshield wipers of, well, just hundreds and hundreds of automobiles in the greater Denver area. With metaphors slightly askew, Saunders writes, from his Rocky Mountain vantage point, mind you, Imus barge docks in Denver. What, Dusty, would you have written about his arrival in Florida? Imus repels into Tampa? It makes me think that Mr. Saunders just might be a tad on the vulnerable side in the game of Clue. You see what I'm driving at? Anyway, the point is here that the critical initial response to the Imus show around the country has become as predictable as, say, a Bill Clinton natural disaster sympathy statement. And Trusty Dusty is merely our latest case in point, as each commentator cribs the other and decries the J. June puerile meretricious rant that is the essence of the I-man's humor. And here we'll pause briefly to permit Dusty to dive for his dictionary. Got it, Duster? Good boy. Later we'll have one of the giggling background baboons Dusty refers to dash off a memo to him containing a helpful Imus vocabulary guide. Now then to the nascent Imus listener. Despite negative reviews, just hang in there a couple of weeks. He'll grow on you. Of course, then so will mold. In the meantime, Dusty, I'll put in a good word for you at some of the larger circulation gazettes we have back here in the East. Because while many of your readers may think you suck, I believe you have potential. For Media Watch, this is Walter Cronkite. Oh, by the way, Dusty, aren't you people supposed to be boycotting Colorado?
One other NBA note, Washington Bullets have a new head coach to replace Wes Unseld. The new guy's name is Jimmy Lynam, who sounds like a real beauty.
I know nothing about getting under the hood of a car. I couldn't name you 5 rock groups, but I can coach basketball and I can teach math.
Well, that'll come in handy, sure. They try to figure out how many points they get beat by.
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
Now, live from El Paso, Texas, Fred Imus. Good morning, Fred.
Lay off the first lady. You know, that's a bad day, that stuff you're doing.
First of all, Fred, is what we're doing in bad taste, or are we holding a mirror up to bad taste?
Let's get over a mirror up so you can see that old wrinkly neck.
Have you been thinking on the Imus in the Morning program, the former heavyweight champion of the world, Iron Mike Tyson, with an ode to the Washington Post's Leonard Shapiro?
Yo, what's up, boy? I am Mike back with the mic in my hand. Got a message for all you useless wordsmiths. Well, I've been accused of being inflammatory by all of these PC punks who just looking to make a story. But they are the ones who should be apologizing for all of that boring rhetoric and liberal proselytizing. When all I was trying to do was give the president advice to follow Corbin Jones wouldn't turn into Donna Rice. Bubba's got a reputation for acting hot to trot. Doing a 90s version, the Camelot. Suffice to say, my remarks are considered gay. Causing Jody Wardruff a modicum of dismay. What all these sweetheart columnists don't appear to know is that they aren't listening to your mother's morning show. They ain't so uptight, suck up till you chuck up, but sitting right beside you just waiting for you to screw up. So in retrospect, if you had asked me so, I should have laid off Paula Jones and pin slap Shapiro. Pin slap the mo. For the nasty things he said, pin slap the mo. Smack him upside the head, pin slap the mo. Pin slap the mo. Pin slap the mo. Cause he said I wasn't chic, pin slap the mo. For his hideous critique, pin slap the mo. Cause he a journalistic geek, pin slap the mo. Pin slap the mo. Pin slap the mo.
Here's the Attorney General of the United States, Janet Reno, talking about television violence. And you know what one of her solutions is? She's written a script. She has a 14-year-old boy, the protagonist in this, and whose mother is a crack addict. But it has a happy ending. Get down. The mother becomes an attorney, and the kid becomes a valedictorian of his class. Now, where is she from? Is she from Florida or Pluto?
If your radio sounds funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the morning.
And he becomes a lawyer. Oh, that's great.
You're crack daddy. I know what they're going to. I'll win them on that.
Get out of here!
Object. That's great, John. I'm trying to have next.
Patrol.
Hi, I'm Imus. Good morning. Happy birthday to...
Angel, teen angel, teen angel. Imus in the morning.
Taft, campaigns for the presidency, October 1908.
As the next Global Fan Highway Patrol.
All right, here now on the Imus in the Morning program, my fat friend Rush Limbaugh. Good morning, Rush.
Well, I guess it's true what they say. Life imitates art. Imus in Washington. And not since the civil rights marches of the late 60s have there been so many disgruntled Americans in our nation's capital at one time. Well, more than the proverbial tempest in a teapot, we are talking a thunder shower in the undershorts. And it is the media causing the ripple, claiming, of all things, that the Imus in the Morning program is tasteless, crude, boorish, and vulgar. Well, what can one say to that except, duh. The Don Imus Show, a locker room compendium of boners and breasts? I'm shocked. The next thing you know, they'll start saying that Dee Dee Myers doesn't tweeze. That Bubba's healthcare plan is a socialist doctrine worthy of that dorky Maxine Gorky. And yet, I now find myself in the unenviable position of actually having to defend this liberal lickspittle. He has been persecuted by some members of the media, the very self-same media that fawns over him and elevates his position on the food chain to the stature of political pundit. He has been attacked for the baseness of some of the satire featured on his program. And so my First Amendment antenna, as well as my rather behemoth-sized back, have both gone up. You know, it's getting to the point where you can't get up in the morning, have breakfast, shower, get dressed, and go to work without offending 10 or 12 politically correct principles. That grapefruit juice you're drinking comes from fruit harvested by exploited migrant farm workers. That shower you're taking, water heated by nuclear power plants that are causing walleyed salmon to grow thumbs. Don't wear those Italian loafers. They were made by third world labor from the hides of endangered species. Yeah. And heaven forbid you drive to the office. You're contributing to the hole in the ozone layer. It is almost an Orwellian scenario. But in this case, Big Brother is not only watching, he is listening, and he is not amused. No. Somewhat ironic, isn't it, how the politically correct have assumed the identity of he who they most fear and abhor. To paraphrase the great philosopher Pogo, they have met the enemy, and they beat it. I am sure that the late George Orwell is doing a rotisserie tomb twist, for if he were around today, he wouldn't be able to write Animal Farm at the risk of offending bovine Americans. More after this.
Here now on the Imus in the Morning program, a man who was the Ted Bundy of the Great White Way when he was a drama critic for the New York Times.
The serial killer of
Broadway. Okay. Frank Rich. Good morning, Mr. Rich.
Good morning.
Did you see me on the Brinkley Show?
I certainly did. That fireplace was quite commanding to those of us who don't have fireplaces. I expected there to be a crawl, like, that you'd be selling, old Johnny Mathis records.
If your radio song's funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the Morning.
Remember back in the Tanya Harding case, in the early days, there was that torn-up note that they found?
Right.
Well, I'm convinced that those are the missing pieces of the Vincent Foster note. And that if they're all put together, we're going to find out that the Galoolis are the only people who actually bought a plot at Whitewater.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
Boy, without Don Coleman, it doesn't win a series. My opinion. Now go out there and be counted. Greg Anthony for one game to get the job done. Can you, Mike?
You got it.
Mike is a mad dog. Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
I think the Knicks are going to win this series, though. They will win these next two. They will win 5 and 7. Back after this.
Mike is a mad dog. Sports Radio 66, WFAN.
Let's talk to that crook Ann Mullen. What's up with her? She did my home in Southport, and she did what you've seen it. Sure. So we built a new room in front of the gym in Southport and put a bathroom in the gym. Makes sense. And a door never worked right.
Should have put a phone booth there.
So I didn't say anything about it. Plus I could pay in a phone booth. Thank you, Howard.
If your radio song's funny in the morning, you're listening to Imus in the Morning on the Fan.
So I'm torqued off at Bernard. out of here. That's all. That's right. He's walking. So I put my job on the line for you a couple of times. Would you do that for me? Let me answer the question for you. No.
Sports Radio 66, WFAN New York. WFAN 2020 Sports.
It's 5 o'clock. This is Iron Eagle.
And then the Mets flashback, and then the update, and then Mets Extra. That's all coming up as the Mets and the Florida Marlins prepare for the second game of their 3-game series. It's cloudy, it's chilly, there's no rain coming down right now. They'll certainly get started tonight at the very least. So if you were thinking about coming out, why not do so? Certainly have plenty of room for you. Pete Smith, 2-4, will face Pat Rapp, 2-1. Those are your pitching matchups, and we'll be back with On Deck with Newsday right after these messages.